Space may be the final frontier, but for Star Trek Prodigy, that frontier just closed a little too soon. Welcome back to Hit or Miss Star Trek, the podcast where we boldly go where many fans fear to tread. I'm your host, Holographic Captain Mike, and this week we're beaming in with a bittersweet mission. Although this was long planned, the timing couldn't be more sadly poignant, just as Netflix confirms that Prodigy won't be returning for a third season and will be warping out of streaming entirely. We gather to salute one of the finest, most unfairly treated shows in the Trek universe. That's right, this is our full series review of Star Trek Prodigy, a show with heart, hope, a found family to rival any crew, and a Janeway for every occasion. And I am joined as ever by my steadfast number one, the commander who puts the DK in Does No Trek. Give us a hail, DK.
Hello there. Thank you for having me on once more, fella.
Thanks for coming and helping me out with this one. Yeah, looking forward to talking Prodigy. I know we've talked about it quite a lot on and off air, so I know some of our favourite things, but it'll be interesting to get into the weeds and discuss what we like and what we don't like. So
yeah, looking forward to it.
I think we've already established we might have a difference of opinion when it comes to season 2, but we'll save that for when we get there.
Yeah, you're going to hate me. Well, more so than usual.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion unless it's me claiming that the fight isn't that bad, then you'll come.
Yeah.
And joining us on the bridge this week are two officers whose Starfleet records are nothing short of stellar. First up, a returning mission specialist, the Sci-Fi Queen herself. She's beamed aboard for countless missions and she's brought a tricorder full of insight every time. Welcome back, Nita.
Hello, guys. How are you all doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Can't complain.
Do you like my little intro for you? I always like to big you up as much as I can.
I love the intro. That was excellent. Thank you.
Nice. Now you have to live up to it now.
I know, right? Now I'm like all nervous.
Don't be nervous. You've done this before. And today we're making first contact with a guest that we've long admired from afar. She's got the makings of a great Starfleet officer, curiosity, bold opinions, and probably a few spicy takes on Chakotay. Making her hit or miss debut. Welcome aboard, Connie. Welcome.
Hello, it's awesome to be here, and thank you so much for the invite. I am always happy to talk Trek and the good, the bad, and definitely the ugly. So yeah, and that wasn't a reference to Chakotay, by the way. Unless when he's kissing 7 and 9, and then we're all going, ugh. Anyway,
yeah, nobody liked that relationship.
I'm with you, girl. That was horrible.
I've never met a single Trek fan that's like, you know who was a great couple? Chakotay and Seven.
Well, you just got to give them enough of Kochi Moyo, isn't he? They're just milk for you.
Oh, bless you. But yeah, that's fair enough. So where was I? That's right. It's time to crack open the comms and all stations are manned, hopes are high, emotions are potentially unstable. But before we fire up the Protostar drive and journey through the legacy, there is a sacred tradition that we uphold when a new crew member joins us. That's right, it's time to subject our latest guest to the hit or miss fan debrief in the section that I call Hailing Frequencies Open.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Woo, graphic on screen. See, spared no expense.
Absolutely stunning.
We are professional, honest.
So Connie, basically this is just going to be a little bit of a get to know you, because I always love to know when we first have people on, like how they came to Star Trek. And so that is the first question, really. What first got you into Star Trek? Do you remember your first experience, and was that what grabbed you, or is there a specific episode other than that kind of got your attention and you thought, oh, I like this, I'll have to watch more of this?
I think a lot of it was, and it's probably true of a lot of people. My dad was into it. I think he was a fan, but I don't think he was at the level of a fan that I am. I think there's times where even now I talk to him and his eyes glaze over a little bit. First recollection.
Is he like my father, that they introduce you to it and then they go, "What have I done?"
I think it's a little bit. I mean, I was talking to my parents the other day. My mum was reminding me how I'd walk in on an episode and go, that's this episode, because I was able to just identify what the episode is going to be just from the teaser, because I've seen them so many times. One of my first episodes I do recall is watching this, because obviously from the UK, we have the glory of the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC Two, so the reruns on that. Sitting there, and an episode came on, and I think my mum decided, I can't remember how old I was, but my mum decided at that point it was too scary and I should go to bed. I remember there was 3 witches. It was an original series. There were 3 witches looking down on the crew. And I did as I was
Nice.
told, and it wasn't too many years later that I rewatched that episode, Cat Spore, and realised, yeah, it's a little bit crap. What there was,
Yeah, it's not
I think my
scary.
mum
It's
was
just
saying,
terrible.
it's not scary, yeah. I mean, the black cat standing, that got there before Team America did it. So yeah, but that kind of sparks that thing. And I would devour. I'd get annuals, Star Trek annuals. I've still got some of the '70s Star Trek annuals. I'm a child of. I was born in '72.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, thanks. So
Looking young for it, I'll tell you that. 10
I
years
very
on
much
me and yet
appreciate.
looking younger.
I know. I stalked you on Facebook to check,
Oh, yeah.
and you were born 10 years and 1 day after me, because
Wow.
I'm 2nd of September, you're 1st September. Anyway,
That's right, yeah.
I'm September also, September
there you
27th,
go.
71.
Fantastic. Wait a sec. I'm 72.
Yes, I'm older.
Okay, well, you don't look it.
Oh,
So going
thank
back,
you.
you're very welcome. That's how I get a re-invite. So yeah, I absolutely fell into anything I could get, but of course, at this point, Star Trek had already been cancelled. We're into reruns. I missed the motion picture and The Wrath of Khan in the cinema, but Star Trek 3 was one of my first cinema experiences, or my first Star Trek experience, and it's probably the reason that it still remains one of my absolutely favourite films, because it's just so cinematic.
Yes.
And then, of course, we get Next Generation, and it felt at that time that it was like a first chance to actually live during Star Trek being on TV. Well, I say being on TV, 2 years behind the States. Thank you, BBC. So yeah, that was it. I've been a complete and utter fan ever since, really. And I always had to say to people that Star Trek's been one of those things that it creates a constant in your life. So through good, through bad, through this relationship, that relationship, through any life event, it's always there. And you always know that depending on what your day's like, there's certain episodes or certain bits you can fall back into, and it just creates this lovely warm glow and kind of makes you forget the craziness of the real world for a few times, a few minutes, as it were. So yeah,
Definitely.
that's where it came from.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I've never really mentioned it before, but I think that's one of the reasons why when some people get critical about Voyager specifically, not to make you all feel old, but I'm always very defensive of that, because that show got me through high school through some really difficult times. So I'm like, I wasn't really ridiculously worried about the quality. It was like a little second family when I needed a little bit of comfort at difficult times. So yeah,
Yep, absolutely agree.
When that episode of Picard happened, when they see Voyager in the Fleet Museum in 7 of 9, says, I was reborn on that ship. They were my family. I actually got really tearful, and I posted this on social media and had Jerry Ryan like it and was like,
oh, that's
I have
amazing.
been seen.
Such a fantastic episode as well.
Ever
since we had hints that there was going to be a Fleet Museum, everybody was like, what's going to be there? What's going to be there? And of course, you've got more Voyager. Well, I mean, I'm sure that, no spoilers. I'm sure that's one of the contentious things for Prodigy season 2, but of course, and then you get it in Lower Decks, and it just, you get a full Tuvix alert and Lower Decks, and I love how they're geeking out about it as well, which is one of the fun things about Lower Decks. So
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
That's fair enough. So then the next big question then, and again, not to put you on the spot, because I should let the audience know, I never let anybody know what these questions are going to be ahead of time. So the big one here is, if you had to pick 3 episodes, or if you prefer movies, to show somebody that you think represents the best of the franchise, what would they be?
Wow. Yeah, because there's only a few episodes to choose from, so it kind of makes it really, really tricky, doesn't it? The best of the franchise. Okay, I think if I'm probably biased towards my favorite episodes. That's the thing.
That's fine.
I would say, right, damn.
I can almost see the cogs whirring.
When I asked the same thing to all of us.
Yeah, the cogs are whirring. Okay, okay, film-wise, I'm just going to be biased towards my favorite episodes. The fact that First Contact did so well with non-Star Trek people, I think, kind of demonstrates what a great adventure it is. There's plenty in there if you're a fan. You can spot this cameo, that cameo, Ethan Phillips cameo, I think it is, and stuff like that, and get the little references. But it's also a really, really good story, and it's a really good adventure. So I would probably throw First Contact in there. I think it it represents some of the best of TNG and those relationships. Now I'm probably going to pick something from Deep Space Nine, because if you want morally ambiguous, I suppose even if you don't understand the backstory, the depths of conflict and within the main characters, maybe in the Pale Moonlight would be one where it shows a lot of shades of grey, and it shows a lot of internal conflict, and it's just got some great character moments in it.
My new bestie.
Yeah, Mike loves that one, by the way.
Yeah,
that is my favorite episode.
You obviously haven't seen our review because you're still speaking to me. I hated that episode.
Yeah. I mean,
I pretend that is not so. So
sorry.
Third one. No. Third one. I would almost say just go back to the beginning and show someone some original Star Trek. Maybe. I mean, you could cheat and just throw in right at the pilot phase. I mean, the cage would probably confuse people.
I don't know. I think that's a good starting point. I love the cage. I think it was one of the first.
I'm trying to think of what's the two-parter where it's basically watching stuff. Menagerie. Show them the menagerie. There we go. Star Trek watching Star Trek. You get a little bit of retconning. I think that would be quite a good one as well. And it really demonstrates some relationships. 3 is really hard. It's really hard because there's so much variety. But I was kind of coming at it from the kind of philosophy and some of the underpinning parts of Trek, rather than picking something like Way of the Warrior, which is just badass awesome.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So I'm going to go First Contact for the film, In the Pale Moonlight, and The Menagerie. There we go.
Fair enough. That sounds good to me.
Spread of different types.
Yeah, so in a similar vein, putting you back on a similar spot, shall we say, if you had to pick 3, not necessarily best, but 3 favourite characters who speak to you across all of the increasing Trek universe.
Yep. Jadzia. I love Jadzia Dax.
Nice.
I just there's reasons, personal reasons, of course. I'm a trans woman, and she absolutely was kind of, even though it's a bit of an oblique way of doing it, obviously being Trill, being symbiote, different hosts, she was certainly a glimmer of representation and hope as I was growing up. And I
love that meme, by the way, about like Curzon. It's Jadzia now. Jadzia, my old friend.
And that's what does it. It's absolutely that. And I met Terry Farrell in Birmingham 2023. Awesome. And might have cried at her a little bit. Ugly cried a little bit. She was so sweet and amazing. I also got a photo with the 2 Daxes, which was fantastic. So Jadzia,
I'd love that.
I love Mariner from Lower Decks. I just think I love how she's just nuts at times, but she's also she's just one side of crazy, but also is really good at her job. I aspire to be good at my job, but also be slightly nuts and sarcastic at the same time. So
I love that. That's a good point about Mariner, is that she breaks the rules but yet stays completely moral, which is such a weird kind of dichotomy, isn't it?
She kind of knows where that line is, and it's very rare that she might kick the line a little bit or tiptoe over it occasionally, but she's always back on it, and she's just insanely good. The fact that the recurring theme is that she should be a captain, or at least well on that way, and she's almost too good at times, and she's almost self-sabotaging herself a little bit. I think she's a great character, and seeing her on Strange New Worlds, real life, was an absolute highlight. Is it 3 characters? Okay.
Yes,
who's
a
third? Oh my god, it's really hard. The third. See, I feel like I should pick a captain, but I'm going to pick a captain. I think I'm going to go with because I'm a senior leader in my job. I think there's definitely an element of, just again going back to when the Next Generation was, oh my god, this is Star Trek that is around at my time. It's going to be Picard. It's going to have to be Picard. What would Picard do? I've asked myself that many times, and his line about making no mistakes and still losing, I think, is absolutely such a great message during life, because sometimes, sometimes you just don't win, and it's through no fault of your own. So I'm going to go with those three. Yes,
that's a good call. Picard was one of my three, by the way, as well.
And it's Patrick Stewart. He could just read the dictionary and just make it sound all full of gravitas,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So that's almost done it, but I have to ask the big question, which you may have been suspecting was coming. And so out of the increasing amount of them that there are now, what is your favorite series in all of the Trek universe?
Deep Space Nine. Yeah, it will always be. No, it'll always be Deep Space Nine. I sat and I loved TNG. I loved it because Trek was back. I loved it because, again, BBC Two notwithstanding, it was these new adventures and this new crew and just the Enterprise and the D and all that. It was amazing. But DS9 just it just has a bit of everything. I love some of the the moral ambiguity. I love the fact that I can sit and watch Magnificent Ferengi or Little Green Men and just have a fantastic time, or I can dive into the Pale Moonlight, or I can just put on Sacrifice of Angels and just watch kick-ass space battles. It kind of has a bit of everything, and I love that there was always that intention and that push from Ira Stephen Bear about what is the Federation, how do you live in utopia, because it just added a bit of grayness and a bit of that naughtiness to Star Trek. I think a little bit that TNG was almost too clean, and I just I've got a DS9 Defiant tattoo on my arm, and I absolutely it's always going to be the one. I pretty much watch most Trek. Funny enough, Discovery is the only one I've never felt the urge to rewatch, and Enterprise. Love Lower Decks as well. I mean, can I pick two? Can I pick DS9 and Lower Decks? Because Lower Decks, just for me, is just pure joy and absolutely cracks me up every single time. I've just watched it so many times. But I'll always be a bit of a DS9er. Always.
I'll allow it just because there are so many series, and it's such a bigger question now than asking this back in '96 when there was 4 series. Sorry, it would have been a much easier question. But now it's oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Academy coming. Have you ever anybody go, Short Treks is my favourite? I don't know, maybe.
No, but we have reviewed a couple of them on the channel. Yeah.
Picard season 1 is my favourite now.
Well, I think that's kind of that summed quite a bit of your Trek journey up, and thank you to DK and Nita for sitting patiently during that.
Yes, appreciate that. Thank you.
It's always fascinating to hear the reasoning behind a guest's favourites.
Yes, that's true.
Plus, I love it when someone chooses something that Mike doesn't.
This is the time that we'll jump in and begin our analysis of Star Trek Prodigy.
Spark analysis.
We are here to do a full series review. It only got 2 series, but they are like 40 episodes overall because they're 20-episode seasons. For the purpose of this review, I'm going to break it down into 10-episode sections, so half seasons basically, just to kind of keep it flowing so that we don't have loads to remember all at once. I've got little sort of summaries of what happened and some questions to ask everyone to go around and sort of see what they think of the 10 episodes at a time that we'll be dealing with. But first of all, I'm going to ask the question I always ask at the start of every review, and again, I'll go around and ask individually, which is, what was your first experience of Prodigy? What was your first impression when you saw it? And has that maybe changed now that the show's finished? And Nita, because you've been so polite and sat nicely, I'll come to you.
Well, when I first heard of Prodigy and saw the trailer, I said, okay, this looks like it's going to be interesting. I wasn't sure if it would be good necessarily, because, I'm a TOS girly. So I remember Star Trek animation when it first came out, which was just basically Star Trek TOS in animated form. There was nothing extra about it. It wasn't bad. It was just nothing special. But now we have Star Trek, Lower Decks, which is it was special, and it was funny, and it was the comedy side of Star Trek world, in this animated form, and they really put the high standard of animation, okay, when it comes to the Star Trek universe. And now we have Prodigy, and I'm going, how can they possibly compete with Star Trek Lower Deck? How can anyone compete with Lower Decks? And I said, okay, so let me just look at it as an individual series as opposed to a comparatively, because I think that if you compare it, you're going to go into a really dangerous area. But all on its own, I think Star Trek Prodigy really does speak to a different side of the Star Trek universe, which Star Trek does not exactly do the best job at. They stay within their frame and they do great, but they've never really explored other universes in the same level of greatness with the series. I think they do great with the Kelvin timeline in movies, but movies are different. Movies have a different feel to them. And they're kind of like they stand on their own. There's no legacy of storyline. But Prodigy did a really good job at drawing in the viewer, and it was really good for young viewers. I think young viewers today need a different type of introduction to Star Trek than what we got. We got TOS, boom. We got Next Generation, and it was just sort of thrown at us. This really gives a backstory to what's happening outside of the Star Trek Alpha Quadrant universe. And I think that they did a really good job at it. And quite frankly, they could have had a couple of more seasons. But hey, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And yeah, it is. I mean, I agree with you completely. It's a great, everybody has always said it, it's a great little entryway to Star Trek, which is something that Paramount keeps claiming that they want, but then they treat it like crap when they have one. So it's a little confusing.
Exactly. That first episode of Star Trek Prodigy, Lost and Found, was so profound, especially when you know the history of Star Trek and you know what's going on, especially if you're a Voyager fan and you've seen Voyager. You really understand what's happening, and there is so much going on in that episode that is unspoken, but it's just visually there to kind of captivate the audience.
Yeah, and I just before I quickly, I'll come to you in a second, Nikki, but I should add, as much as I think it is a fantastic intro to kind of Trek for new people, especially younger people, it does absolutely respect the lore of Star Trek as well, and fully goes into some really deep dives and nerdiness. And that was the thing that shocked me, was how much the writers and creators of it really respect and love the Star Trek universe, and they're not afraid to go in for the odd deep dive, but not in a way that would be, I think, distracting or putting off for people that don't know the references, but are great for those of us that do. You know what I mean? So, but we'll get into that a little bit more, probably a bit later on. But I love Prodigy in general, like I said. But again, I'll come to you first, DK, before I give what my first wrong opinions were of the show. What was your first impression, and has it changed since it's now over, I guess?
Yeah, mine was like yours, incredibly askew. When I saw the promo for it, I audibly groaned. I thought, I'm really not going to like this. This is just not going to be for me. But being the obsessive that I am, I had to try it. I will watch anything, although I still haven't watched Section 31, but that's another story.
You're not missing anything.
I was really not holding out much hope, but I thought I'd give it a try. I'll be honest, it probably took me a couple of episodes because, you know me, I'm also a big Star Wars fan, and there was more than an element of kind of the Clone Wars animated series for me about the first couple of episodes. But once it settled down, it completely changed my opinion of it, to the point where by the time it had ended, to me was, without going back and just going to nostalgia bait, which some other series have done, it felt the most like Trek in recent years for me, series wise, and I loved it, really loved it.
I have to second that. I think it is as much as people, and you get the odd people that moan, and I don't tend to put a lot of faith into it, but I can see where partly they're coming from. Sometimes they go about it wrongly, but you kind of know a lot of this Kurtzman track doesn't quite have the feel of some of the older stuff. And I think those people are probably the ones that would never give Prodigy a chance because, oh, it's animated, I'll never watch it. And yet they would love it because it is the most, as you said, tonally and thematically and just as a general feeling, it is the most like that kind of, next gen DS9 Voyager era of Trek that I think we've had in recent years. I do hope, one of the goals I would hope, if people are listening to this, by the way, maybe that were a bit unsure, give it a try, even if it's, the barrier of animation really does not matter. It really is great storytelling and fantastic acting. It's got a lot of the Trek actors that you know and love doing the voices, so give it a try. And anyway, sorry to interrupt you there, Connie. So I was going to come to you next and ask what were your first impressions, and did they change by the end of the show?
So when it was first announced, and obviously it was linked into Nickelodeon, and this is going to be for kids, I was like, yeah, that's cool. That is cool. I'm very similar in the sense of, I will watch Trek. I am not adverse to taking the piss out of any Trek. I take the piss out of Deep Space Nine because because it's fun. It's fun. But at the same time, I also respect that some people will have different favorite shows. So when Prodigy came out, I thought, yeah, this could be fun. It could be fun. It's going to be aimed at the kids. And similar to DK, I think I was just coming towards the end, or I was doing a Rebels rewatch at the time. So I was kind of thinking, okay, well, you look at Clone Wars, you look at Rebels, and there's some fantastic animated stuff out there. And obviously Lower Decks was out, loving it. So I thought, why not, if it's a great way to introduce new future fans? And I remember when we started to get the first images, and I was like, holy crap, this looks amazing. This has the potential to look fantastic. They're not skimping on the animation. It's a completely different style to Lower Decks. It could look absolutely stunning, because I was kind of thinking, is it going to look like a poor man's Star Wars animation? Is it going to not stand toe to toe to some of the stuff we've seen come out there? And I think I was already committed to watching it because it's Star Trek and I'm curious. And I do like the fact, I think it is, as a fan, those first two episodes kind of are unusual because it just dives straight in, and there's almost none of the Star Trek we know until they kind of find the protostar. But I love the fact they also played with different tropes. The fact that here's a rock talk who's like and all, grunting, and suddenly actually she's a girl, and I love that. I love how it suddenly just went straight in with just building these great characters. And I was kind of hooked because, first of all, the protostar is gorgeous. I love the scene where they're flying out and they're trying to escape Tars Lamore, and Murph sits on the pew 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 button, and the animation again really comes to life. But what I really liked about it is it was doing what it was intended to do. It was drip feeding Star Trek. It wasn't suddenly you had to know everything. If going back to that, if you're introducing someone to Star Trek, well, put them in front of Prodigy, because they learn bit by bit. We're all sitting there going, oh my god, it's holographic Janeway, and oh wow, look, there's the Enterprise D in one of the graphics they're showing, and that's great. But at the same time, if to give you an example, one of my friends, her daughter, I think she must have been about 13 at the time, and she was interested in it. She wasn't interested in Star Trek. By the time that Prodigy had aired and she was watching it, she was, what else is there? And we introduced her to Lower Decks, and then Voyager, and TNG, and before I know it, we're at a London Film Comic Con, and she is wearing her own Lower Decks outfit. And at that point, it was like, good job, Prodigy, you did it. And I think every Trek introduces people differently. You get people that first watched they might have gone to the film to see the 2009 Star Trek with their parents, and they're hooked. And just because it's Kelvin, I think I like the Abrams films. Beyond, I thought, was fantastic.
I love Beyond.
I think as an introduction to what Star Trek is, not just the sheer weight of its canon, but actually what it stands for. And I know you're also going to go for the episodes. There are some episodes there that absolutely demonstrate that better than any of the live action series I've ever done. And I also like the fact that Prodigy, even though it was aimed at kids, it didn't kind of talk down to them. There was some,
Yes.
I think Time of Mock. Oh my word, wrapping your brain around that one. It's a kids show, and it's dealing with kind of quite scientific concepts. I think it got a really good balance, and it was obviously made by people who love the franchise. We're going to respect the franchise.
Yes.
We're going to, keep on that journey of building this thing for kids, but not forgetting about the legion of fans that would pick up on here's an Enterprise D bridge for a simulation. Here's the Kobayashi Maru. I thought it was fantastic. I absolutely love it. And I cannot believe that Paramount treated the way it did, and that there's not more to come, because I think it just has so much potential. I mean, I won't jump ahead to how it ties into the wider Picard mythology, but I thought it was just fantastic. And
you make an excellent point that they didn't talk down to children. And I really love that about the show, because I think that we underestimate children, especially today with all the knowledge and technology that they have in hand. They're just smarter than we were.
Yeah, true.
Because they have more information to go on. And if you talk down to them, you lose them.
Yep.
Because they know. Yeah.
And it really didn't. It really didn't.
To your point, though, Connie, I think as well as kind of, science and obvious concepts, I think it also doesn't talk down to them when it comes to big emotional ideas as well. And I think, without getting too far ahead, myself and DK, we both adore Time Amok. There's a review of it on the channel, so you can go and listen to us gush over it. It's top 10 of, whatever 1,000-odd episodes of Trek for both of us, I think. And it's just because it's emotionally devastating, and it's such a concept to grasp for children that you're not scared to be like, she was alone for way too long. She kind of had to get used to it, and it's
and it was just a very good story. It was a great. Again, it kind of it hits the scientific, it hits the emotional beats, as you said, but it doesn't do it in a boring way. It's still fun. It still has these great. It has some interesting child-related comedy moments. From Jankum, but I think it's absolutely a fantastic slice of Trek, and I think it does Trek really, really well.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to get too far ahead, but again, I think even Jankum was a surprise, because it was the character that could have been the most annoying. And then when we eventually get that episode about his backstory that explains why he talks the way he does and why he is the way he is and everything, heartbreaking when you actually learn the story behind it.
Oh, isn't it? Oh,
bless him.
Anyway.
But also when he comes across an actual Tellarite and he thinks and he kind of gets knocked back a little bit, but it doesn't last for that long, does it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you kind of remember he's just a kid. That's the other thing, because you're kind of going through these adventures, and we're treating them as characters, and they can do this and they can do that. But then you kind of that moment's almost like a reminder that these are just kids at the end of the day. For all the stuff they're doing, they're just kids. And as soon as the real world or the bigger world hits them, you kind of get reframed into where they sit within that wider context, and it can be heartbreaking, and also amazing what they've achieved. So.
Definitely.
And what they've come out of, because they're kids that are being forced into the slave labor.
Yep, agreed.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, they've all got their own traumas. Yeah. You go to the backstory of what happened to, like, Jankum, Zero, Gwyn. They've all got their own kind of traumas that they're coming from and leading towards the Federation, which, again, is very much the Star Trek story, I think, at the end of the day, isn't it? So finding a place to belong, as they even say, I think, at one point. So, yeah. I say that as if I don't have the quote written in my gallery anyway, but anyway, so for me, I have to say I was completely wrong-headed when it came to the Prodigy's first announcements, because I still struggle a little bit with the character design, and I know that it's a barrier for some people. I know, for example, our friend Vian just will not watch it because of the character design of all things, because she just doesn't like that it's a bit sort of generic and animation-y, I suppose. And when I first saw the kind of just the images of the characters and the way they were drawn, and heard that it was a Nickelodeon show, I think I was expecting something completely different. So I was like, I'm not going to like this. I'm expecting like Ben 10 or something, like just a generic-y kind of kid show that's aimed squarely at kids. And I was like, I don't know if I want a Star Trek that's like that. And I could not have been more wrong completely about it. I remember even having a kind of a sort of slightly more civil argument with somebody on Twitter when it was called that, pre-full Nazi takeover, with somebody, because I was like, I don't like the look of this. I don't think it's going to be Trek. It's just going to be generic kids kind of stuff. And this person who I can't remember who it was definitely a female Trek fan, had said to me, like, you can't prejudge it. You never know. It might end up being brilliant. You can't just judge off the appearances. And I was being quite stubborn about it. And then, again, I've never been more wrong or more happy to be wrong than when I actually sat and watched the show and was like, this is pure Star Trek. I love it. So that was my, ignorance and then journey to the actual revelation to, again, at the end point where I'm like, this does not deserve to be cancelled. I could follow this way longer than the 40 episodes we've got. So, anyway.
Oh, absolutely. And the backstories of each character is so intense and so dramatic. And, it kind of reminded me of Tasha Yar's backstory of being so sad and so dramatic and having the Federation, save her, basically.
Definitely, yeah. Anyway, so I'll say we're going to break it down into the little sort of 10 episode sections to try and keep things moving and in a scripted sense so that we can keep some kind of order as much as I try to in these episodes, because I will go off on a tangent, as you probably saw. So we're going to start with episodes 1 to 10. I'm going to give you a brief summary of them, and then again I have questions for everybody with regards to those. So episodes 1 to 10 are as follows. When a ragtag group of young misfits stumble upon an abandoned Starfleet ship buried deep in a mining colony run by a tyrannical overlord, their lives and the fate of the galaxy change forever. Dal, Gwyn, Zero, Rocktack, Jankum, Pog, and Murph may have no idea what Starfleet even is, but with the help of a holographic Captain Janeway, they begin learning what it means to work as a crew, uphold a code, and chart a course towards something bigger than survival. Over the first 10 episodes, the Protostar crew crash courses through everything from basic warp travel to daring rescues, first contacts, and the ethics of leadership. They face the looming threat of the Diviner, Gwyn's own father, whose mysterious obsession with the Protostar slowly comes into focus. Along the way, they tangle with Ferengi grifters, holographic training gone rogue, and the painful realization that their past traumas don't have to define their future, as we were saying. And just as they begin to understand what Starfleet stands for, they discover that returning to the Protostar to the Federation might actually destroy it. It's a coming-of-age story told with phasers and philosophy where hope is found in the stars, but the heart of the mission is always in the crew. So, and those 10 episodes, just to give you a brief rundown. Lost and Found Parts 1 and 2, the pilot. Starstruck, basically where the Protostar gets led into almost getting destroyed by a star as they try and understand it. Dreamcatcher and Terra Firma, kind of basically a two-part story about a planet that's trying to use the crew's fears against them to capture them. Very sort of weird concept, high concept Trek. Kobayashi, which I think was the first one that got me hooked, and probably a lot of other people, because it gets very Trek. Dal attempts the Kobayashi Maru test on the holodeck inside the Enterprise D bridge with a bunch of recreations of Trek characters. Then, of course, we have First Contact. Dal reconnects with the shady Ferengi who raised him. Time and Mock, we've already discussed, kind of rock-tack, temporal weirdness, etc. And then Immoral Star Parts 1 and 2, which are the sort of the mid-season finales, which is all about the Diviner kind of forcing the Protostar back to Tars Lamora and trying to, gather everyone there and survive, I suppose, ultimately revealing, I think, if I remember correctly, the end of episode 10 finally reveals the real Admiral Janeway is looking for the Protostar, and, that's obviously going to be something coming in the second half of the season. So, with that in mind, I have a series of questions that I'm going to ask. I'm going to start with this one. Out of those 10 episodes, spoiler alert, who is your favorite character that gets development or whatever in these 10, and perhaps the reasons why? So I'll start with that one and come to you first. DK, I don't know why, because why not? Because you told me not to, and I just want to be contrary. So.
It's already been touched upon, actually. It's Jankum. If you can't tell from my profile picture, because like you, like Connie, he's the character that most looks like he's just going to annoy the hell out of you throughout this show. And the development that they gave him, I just fell in love with the character. It was just really weird. He's such a, I don't know, I was rooting for him within, I say 2 or 3 episodes. And he grew on me immeasurably to the point where he is the entire series' favorite character.
Is there anything specifically in those first 10 about Rocktack about Jankum that appeals to you? Sorry.
I know where you're going with this. Yes, he is just so personable. I honestly, when I saw him and when it started, I thought, oh, here's the annoying one. But he isn't annoying to me. I mean, he has his little quirks and the way he speaks, and his hygiene standards probably aren't the best. But But yeah,
I don't even want to know if that speaks to you.
Yeah, he's just so personable with it. I'll put up with anyone.
Oh God.
Yeah, he is what he is. But yeah, he's got a sense of humor about him, and he can be annoying to the other characters, but it never got to a point where it was annoying to me, and that's what I appreciated about him.
Are you a fan of the percussive maintenance?
Of course, that's how I deal with it too.
Everybody uses it. Yeah.
Oh, we all do. We all give something a good whack if it's not working.
Yeah.
Cool. And, okay, so I'm going to come to you next then, Connie. Do you have a favorite character out of these 10 in a particular, that speaks to the development of them?
I mean, I'm torn between Rock and Dal because I think with Dal, it's almost like a deliberate attempt to make him as annoying and obnoxious and self-centered as possible. But I feel like his development took a little bit longer. So I think I'm going to go with Rock because, again, that first time you meet her, when Dal's heading down to the lower levels of Tars Memorial with her, and she's just like grunting because there's no translation. And then you turn out that she's a girl, but then that's not. Then she gets used for security, and there's like, in the there's an episode where she's like trying to hold down Gwen in the I'm trying to think it the replicator bay. Hey, explains Voyager's torpedoes. And she's used as security, and it's just because she's a big hulking character, but actually she's super smart. And I think Time and Mock, she saves the day. Ultimately, they exist because of her, and I love how it's that outward character starts to drive the character in one direction, and she kind of pushes back and she gets what she wants, and I love that for her, and I think it's fantastic. So I'm gonna go with Rock Talk because I think she's just a great demonstrating of don't judge people from the outside,
Yeah, and the idea, like you said, she starts off with the whole like, oh, security because you're a big brick.
Exactly.
Unit,
and
she can. Like, no. She's capable, but she's like, no, I want to be a scientist. I want to, I love animals and nature, and I want to study it. And why would you put me into this box because of appearance? Which again is a very Trek idea. It's like, no, I don't want to be a security officer. So I also think the actress who plays her, who is really young, Riley Alice Raki, is so good. There's a moment in Time of Mock, and it's partly the writing and it's partly her delivery, when you're already kind of brokenhearted that she's been left alone to kind of fix this problem, and she has to bring on the holographic chainway back online, and she's like, wow, you've done all of this without any help. What did you need me for? And she's just like, well, nobody told me where it goes. And it's just so sweet and heartfelt. Like,
and she just wants a hug, and she gets a hug at the end as well.
Exactly.
And
I love it.
And there's all these little character moments where, for example, when they discover the replicator and Jankum's going nuts, and she's just replicating the same slop they've been eating in Tars Memorial because she doesn't really know anything else. And it's a lovely little lack of confidence that slowly comes out. And I know, obviously, as we go into the series, she becomes more and more confident into her own to actually say, nope, you got to listen to me. And it's such a great story for her. It really is.
Definitely. Cool. Well, I'm. Did I ask you yet, Nita? Sorry, your favorite character?
No, you haven't.
There you go. Now I almost skipped you.
So my two favorite characters is definitely Rakta and Zero. I think that they're misunderstood from the very beginning, and I think that their abilities and their compassion and who they are, no one really knows. They're just assuming these people or these individuals are XYZ kind of way, and they're not. They're nothing like that. People soon realize as they get to know them, the other crew members, that they're gentle and they're kind and they're intelligent and they're loyal. And the brilliance of these two characters begin to shine, and people in the crew, this small, tiny crew begins to realize that, because I think that it teaches us again about, just kind of piggybacking on what was just said, that don't judge people by what you see, because what you see is just the outside. It's not really an identity identifier of who that person is. It's just the outside, who they are on the inside, who they are emotionally, who they are mentally. That comes with you getting to know them. And I think these characters are those kind of characters that needed other characters to get to know them. And I love that about them. I love that we were all wrong about them. We were all wrong about them. And I love that it wasn't made into, it wasn't like a big deal. It was just sort of a matter of fact, like, oops, yeah, we were wrong. She's brilliant and should be an engineer. And you know what I mean? I think that, yeah.
One of the things I love about Zero's journey, that since you were talking about them, is that I just love that they are so, like, the biggest betrayal is that they were used as a weapon and they absolutely hated it. Because like you said, they're such a kind and gentle soul, despite being this creature that, you look at it and you go mad, basically. And, it's just, again, it's the beautiful kind of dichotomy of, like, this creature could be evil or vile and go around, I'm going to drive you all crazy, make it, but nope, it's just, it hates the idea of being used in that way. And again, just being a nerdy deep dive, I mean, a Medusan appeared once in a single episode of TOS and then became a regular cast member. It doesn't matter if you don't know this, if you are a newcomer, but if you do, you can be like, oh, I remember that episode.
Yeah.
Well, Star Trek is known for doing that. Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan movie came out of one epised in the TOS.
Yeah, like Prodigy again. I mean, it's not just the Medusan's. I mean, Jankum being a Tellarite is a big thing for nerdy fans like us. And I mean, even Murph being, what was it, a Danubian slime devil, which was a slight reference that appeared in, a random throwaway insult from an episode of Next Gen. And I forget what else. There was one other sort of character reference. Oh, yeah, Rocktack being a Brickar, which exists but only in Star Trek books. Like, never appeared on the actual programs. So, such a weird deep dive, but cool. If you know it,
I think Zero has some of the best lines. I love their deadpan, sarcastic delivery. They're just some of the quick throwaway lines they throw out are absolutely superb.
Yeah. Is it at the start of it might be the pilot episode or the end of the pilot where, like, where did you learn to pilot a starship? I didn't. How am I doing?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's so good. It's like, turn the ship. It's like, I'm just trying to keep it in a straight line. I love it. It's so good.
Awesome. Well, my favorite character, I kind of, I let slip more or less in these 10 episodes is definitely Rocktack, just because of exactly what I already said, the development, the kind of the booking of general ideas of you don't have to be what you're boxed into or what you appear to be to people, which is it's a very Trek idea, and it's always been appealing to me of don't put me in a box or whatever. And just from that episode where we learn she's able to stand up for herself and say, I don't want to be what you want, this is what I'd like to do, and I think I'd be good at it, and then proves her worth absolutely in that episode as well. So, which I may as well say is my favorite episode of this 10. Time of Mock, which again, not surprising anybody. I think during our review I gave it 10 out of 10 and was like, yep, it's a top 10 Trek episode, it's brilliant. Go and watch it if you haven't seen it. So DK, I'm going to come to you, favorite episode, because I have a feeling it's probably going to be the same.
Yeah, it's always going to be Time of Mock, dude, you know this.
Same reasons.
Yeah, the amount of character development that Rocktack goes through in that is just it's beautiful, it's emotional, and I just can't fault it.
Definitely. What about you, Nita? Favorite episode of those 10?
My favorite episode of those 10 is definitely the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah.
Because I'm a Star Trek original series girly. So, and this goes back to Kirk. And I love that they were able to incorporate a little bit of, I think, almost every series into this 2-season, show. And that was definitely one of my favorite, because I feel like, they're using that training program in the holodeck so that they can, kind of see what their skill sets are, and they learn about themselves and what really is what matters as they investigate this protostar.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say as well, it's really ingenious being an animated show, the way that they have, characters whose actors have passed away, that they're able to source voice clips from previous episodes and movies that fit into exactly what they want. I mean, they did bring back Gates McFadden to do Beverly so that you didn't have to use clips for that character. But then, like, you've also got Scotty and Odo. I have to forget anyone else because, as usual, my brain's not working. But like characters, like I said, the actors. Oh yeah, Nichelle Nichols, of course.
Yeah,
I think
Nichelle
she still
Nichols.
might have been with us at that point, but she didn't come back to do the voice. But
Leonard Nimoy, because they did a lot of Spock.
Of course, Spock. Yeah, of course. Yeah. How could I forget that? Seriously, my brain just fries sometimes. But yeah, just like the way that they did that, and it kind of works. I mean, being a nerd, I could identify where all of the clips came from. You know.
Exactly. Yes, I kept saying, "Wait, what? Have I heard this before?" I'm glad I wasn't the only nerd who got that because I was like, I loved when I watched these shows that they use these other clips and voices, and yet you can identify them and go, "Oh, I know where that's coming from."
Yeah, completely. So sorry to interrupt again. I got carried away there, Connie. Favorite episode out of these 10 from you as well?
I love Kobayashi Maru. I love the recreation of the bridge and all that. But I think Timer Mock just pips it. It's a very clever concept.
Yes.
Some great characterization, especially around Rock Talk, but I think everybody as well. And I think it's probably the first time that the crew they really start having to work together because they've got to. So each part feeds into apart from the bit where it's Murph, and Demo's like, and it's just Murph. Nothing can be happening. It's just deal with it. But yeah, I think it's a really clever concept. And they pack. I'm always impressed with how Prodigy manages to pack like so much into its half-hour episode, and it's a fantastic episode. But yeah, Kobayashi Maru's right there, just because of the sheer mindfulness of Dal, determined like time after time. It's like hiding behind the arch on the D bridge to see if anybody notices. And I love the fact that when he finally does it, he just puts his feet up on the clinging bird of prey and kills and destroys the Enterprise D by mistake. It's so good. It reminds me of like Boimler, keep going and going when he's doing the testing on the
the Borg mission during
it's that same stubbornness. But yeah, Timer Mock, I think, just for sheer quality of writing and characterization and just the concept is just superb. It really is.
That's awesome. Cool. I should clarify because we will get letters that the episode is called Kobayashi from Star Trek Prodigy.
Yes,
because apparently Star Trek Discovery won the right to call their episode Kobayashi Maru when it came to the season 4 premiere. They must have won the the rock paper scissors to be able to get the full title.
That is so ridiculous. It's the same franchise.
It's like having an episode of TNG and a film called First Contact. I mean, who would have even thought of that,
There's also 2 episodes called Impulse. I think there's an episode of Discovery called Impulse and an episode of Enterprise called Impulse.
Could Discovery not call theirs Kobayashi Saru and get away with that?
Just a couple more questions then about these 10 episodes. First of all, we've more or less touched on it in terms of episodes and stuff, but on a microcosm, favorite moment in the series. And I'll come to you, Connie, just to mix it up a little bit. Do you have a favorite moment of these 10 that stands out? Doesn't have to be from your favorite episode. Can be a different one.
No, I mean, I have to say, again, if you're looking at the art style and stuff like that, I mean, it's just a beautiful show. I do love the in Lost and Found, when Prodigy's escaping, and it's just the first time you see it let rip with its phases, and who doesn't love tracking phases and all that? I think and there's a beautiful shot where it comes through the waterfall. Just seeing the ship out for the first time. And it's just a gorgeous design. I love that shot of its escaping. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And you follow into Starstruck, and it's just even more ship porn. I'm always up for starship porn, and I think I think the Protostar is absolutely just gorgeous. So I will take its first flight in the pilot. Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, girl after our heart. Me and DK love the Protostar, and I love ship porn in general. So yeah, definitely with you on that one. If they do release a fan home USS Protostar, I'll probably have to end up buying it.
It is on the list.
I knew it would be.
Yeah, I've got the fan home list, and I'm trying. I think the next one after the Titans, Excelsior 2 from Picard.
That's also a great ship.
Yeah, the Protostar and the Voyager Ray is on there. They're both on there. So yeah, they are.
So what about you, Nita? Favorite moment in these 10 episodes?
The favorite moment in these 10 episodes, I think, is when they are in the episode First Contact, And there's that reunion with their former guardian.
The Ferengi woman who's
And
Nani or something.
yes, the Guardian forces Dal to choose between loyalty and protocol. And he has to make that choice, and he struggles with that. And I think that that's something that I like, that moment he was having.
Yeah,
Like that,
okay.
that's introspective moment.
Really cool, because that's an episode we haven't talked about, but I'm pleased you said that, because that is a good sort of episode for that moment as well. And yeah, cool. What about you, DK? Favorite moment in this 10 episodes?
I'm going to be cheating here, and I apologize for this, but I love the opening credits.
I'll allow it.
Yeah,
that is not a cheat at all. It's
Again, it's going back to the ship porn thing, but it's just so beautiful, and with the music, it gets me.
And the way the characters are obliquely represented in little ways as well, which is like Jansen's hand or Janeway's hollow matrix. So
I love it. I mean, I do question the whoever programmed it to go over Holloway Janeway's breasts, but still,
we can blame Rick Berman just for fun.
And when it carves, it carves its path through that, the light.
At the very end, when it activates the proto drive, the third nacelle pops out, and it's just
I think
amazing,
it's just beautiful. And when and as the titles are coming up, you just get that little motif from the start of Alexander Courageous Trek theme, and it gets me every time. Goosebumps.
It gets me even when Discovery does that at the end of their opening credits, to be fair, as well, and the next gen version at the end of the Picard opening credits as well. Anyway, music nerd. My favorite moment, I've already said, it was just the end of Time of Mock, so I don't really need to get into that anymore. And it was just that little moment with like I said, with between Holo Janeway and Rock. And like, nobody told me where it goes. I love it. So yeah, the last thing then is just what I've got written down here: fangasm alert, because I can't think of a nicer way to put it, I suppose. Which is just, I wanted to mention some things that like really are deep dives or things that might be nerdy. And if I've missed anything, again, I'll throw it open to you guys. But I have to say, in these 10 episodes, we've touched on a lot of these things already, but the Kobayashi holograms, the kind of sound clips that they use, the on-screen displays in one of the earliest episodes, I think it's in Starstruck, where Janeway activates the display and it shows you all of the previous ship designs from the various series. I won't question why the Discovery is in there when it shouldn't be, but, clearly the security that wanted it not to exist didn't stretch quite that far. What else? And obviously, the presence of Janeway herself, the kind of ongoing joke that she has her holographic coffee, I think is brilliant. And at the very end of these 10 episodes, the USS Dauntless, a new version of that ship. Yes, I am just that geeky that I was like, Dauntless.
It's very cool. I mean, it's a weird looking ship, but the fact it's just of all the and quantum slipstream drives, I am there for that.
Yeah. Although, to be honest, given the choice, I'd much rather have the Protostar drive.
That's just such a fantastic design. I love it.
That's the one thing, is if they do release a model of it, I'm going to feel shortchanged if it doesn't have the little retractable thirdness on the Protostar. But it probably
that'll be the next. It's like when they did the Klingon Bird of Prey for Eagle Moss, and it's like wings up, wings down, feet on.
Oh yeah, they released 3.
They'll do another version where it just have a little sled at the bottom of the Protostar where it's landed.
That is so true.
Right, with that out of the way, then, as I say, we'll go back to these first 10 episodes, and I'm going to go around and ask your overall score, not to put you on the spot, out of 10 for these 10 episodes only, and anything else that you think we might have missed that you wanted to briefly mention. So, Nita, I'm coming to you first, just because I like to mix it up a little bit.
For these first 10 episodes, definitely, I would say, I have to say a 10.
Okay, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think they hit it out the park. They left you wanting to see more. And I think when a show does that, it's done its job.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really say fairer than that. So what about you, Connie? What would you give these out of 10?
I'm flip-flopping between 9 and 10. I think it's I think the only reason I'm probably not giving it a 10 is because I kind of know what else is coming. But a 9 minimum, because I agree. They nailed it. And the sheer diversity they showed across those first 10 episodes, Dreamcatcher and Terra Firma is quite, we obviously haven't covered those, but that's quite, there's some scary stuff going on there. And then you've got such a great mixture. And when we saw, we saw the end of A Moral Star on that. It just left you wanting more. You just kind of like, we're only 10 episodes in and we absolutely want more. So I'm probably going to give it a 9 because I think the second half, there's some great stuff that comes, and I'm just reserving the 10 because there's other stuff to come.
That's fair enough. Hey, nothing wrong with that. I understand. And what about you, DK? What would you give it out of 10?
I'm gonna do the same. I think I'm gonna be kind of a voice of dissent. I'm only gonna go as high as 8 right now because, as I say, it took me a couple of episodes to come round. But with the stronger stuff later on, it's definitely towards the top end of the scale.
Yeah, you won't be the only one dissenting. I also gave it an 8 just because it took a little while to go in, and I think there's a couple of episodes. I don't know if I think Star Trek is a little bit slow, and I didn't particularly respond to the evil planet, the murder planet arc of those 2 episodes. But there's so much great stuff that makes up for it. I think that it still has to be at least an 8. So if anybody's curious, then the average for the first 10 episodes from all of us comes to 8.75 out of 10. So we'll move on to the next 10 episodes, and episodes 11 to 20 of season 1. And DK, you have the synopsis for those as we try and move quickly. I think we've got about 45 minutes before we have to get out of here. So we'll try and pick up.
This isn't going to happen, is it? In episodes 11 to 20 of Star Trek Prodigy season 1, the young crew of the Protostar faces escalating challenges that test their unity and resolve. In Asylum, they rescue an endangered aquatic species while grappling with the Prime Directive. Let Sleeping Borg Lie introduces a dormant Borg cube, prompting Zero to make a significant sacrifice to protect the crew. All the World's a Stage reveals a colony's history influenced by a Starfleet ensign's crash landing over a century ago. Episodes 14 and 15, Crossroads and Masquerade, see the Protostar crew encounter Vice Admiral Janeway and a rogue geneticist, respectively, leading to revelations about Dal's origins and the crew's deeper connections to Starfleet. Preludes delves into the backstories of the crew, highlighting their diverse pasts and the challenges they overcame. In Ghost in the Machine, the crew faces a malfunctioning holodeck simulation that blurs the line between reality and illusion. Mindwalk features a body swap between Dal and Vice Admiral Janeway, complicating their efforts to communicate the Protostar's dangers. The 2-part finale, Supernova, culminates in a confrontation with the Diviner and the revelation of a new antagonist, Essentia. The crew must navigate internal and external threats, leading to a dramatic conclusion that sets the stage for future adventures.
Awesome. So that's kind of, I think, giving you the backstory of that, and I think hopefully jogged on memory when it comes to some of these. I know it has for me. So again, I've got the same questions really, so I'm going to go around and ask them again. I'll start us off because why not this time, and say my favorite character. I'm picking up the baton from you on this one, DK. In these 10, it is Jankom, because as I said, I like that we actually get his backstory in the episode. Is it Preludes? Which deals with where he came from on that Tellarite ship, why he talks the way he does because the computer, insisted on it, and I just think it's great. And for all the same reasons that you love the character, I do as well. He's lovable. He's funny. It's Jason Mantzoukas, who is a fantastic comedy actor anyway, who does the voice.
Maximum Derek.
Was that a good reference, DK?
Yeah, it was.
It's a great reference.
So favorite character for me, Jankom. TK, over to you. What's your favorite character in these?
I'm going to be a basic bitch and stick with Jankom again.
Okay, why not?
Yeah, it's basically carrying on from what you said when it it reveals his backstory. So
fair enough. Connie, are you going basic bitch or?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think. I don't know. There might be a bit of love for Dal because I think hitting his backstory and actually, if there's a character that represents the diversity of the Federation, it's like all in one character. Throwing a bit of Dominion and stuff in there as well. So I think I might switch to Dal for this bit because I think the first 10 episodes, they kind of make him, he is a bit annoying, he's a bit of a pain in the ass, he's a bit self-centered. I think this is where they start reflecting, why he is like that, and I think he starts to soften a little bit and become a bit more of a team player than he has been. I think I'm going to be unbasic and switch to Dal a little bit, and I think I I mean, even notwithstanding Mind Walk, which I think is just fantastic.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for some Dow because I think he really starts. I think that deliberate effort to make him annoying at the beginning and so much it's about me. They start to take the edge off that, and I think it does the character a world of good by the time you then discover his origins.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to show some love for Dow.
Again, it's a lovely sort of subversion of expectations when he decides he doesn't want to be captain and he's content to be Gwyn's first officer as well. But yeah, I have to say, I have the quote that you alluded to, so I may as well just spit that out. This is kind of what you were getting at when Janeway is talking to Starfleet and says, concerning the augment whose name you've conveniently forgotten, his name is Dal RL. Is he genetically engineered? Yes. Was he enhanced in every way? Look at him. Of course not. But his heart is bigger than any in this room. I should know. The Federation is made up of over 150 member species. Dal's DNA includes 26 of those. So I ask you, is there a better living embodiment of what our alliance represents?
Love it.
Gotta love some of this dialogue.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, I just felt I had to because I had it saved, ready to go, hoping that somebody would pick Dal. Because I didn't. So favorite episode in this group of 10. Again, I'll start us off because why not? It's got to be All the World's a Stage. It's incredible. Shout out to Aaron Waltke, who is for me the MVP of the Prodigy writers and a huge Trek nerd, and we communicate all the time on social media because he always tends to respond to my gushing about his episodes. So we've kind of obliquely talked. I almost got him to be interviewed on the podcast, but it was just as his baby was being born. So sadly, it didn't end up coming together, but I would have loved to pick his brain. And that's the episode where they find the colony of Enterprisians, all based on the original series on the Ensign Garavik who crash landed on the Galileo, and it's just a TOS fan's dream episode. So that's my favorite in these 10. Let's see, Connie, what would you say is your favorite?
Oh, I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard to pick. I'm looking at the list, and All the World's a Stage, Mind Walk. I love Supernova because again, Starship Porn. But yeah, I think All the World's a Stage is just absolutely fantastic. Because at first you're kind of like, what's going on here? And then when you see their base, and then you see the recreation, and then you get the holographic TOS consoles on the Protostar. I mean, that's a very cool feature.
Yes, but it changes the whole bridge.
Oh my God, can you imagine someone sitting there going, right, well, I actually want my console to look like Voyager, and there's someone over there who wants theirs to look like, I don't know, Discovery, even though they're technically not supposed to know. It could get a bit weird. I'm going to have to go with that because it is just brilliantly done. And awesome. I kind of like the callback to it in brief callback in season 2 as well.
The Mirror Universe episode where there's an Enterprisian on board the ship.
Yes, I love it. So yes, that it's a real tough choice. So I think there are some fantastic episodes, and this it really starts building towards its finale, and there's some great. I mean, say Mind Walk, the sheer swapping of roles between Kate Mulgrew and I can't remember who plays Dow is just fantastic. It's
Brett
brilliant.
Gray.
Yes, but I'm all for live, logs, and prosper.
Absolutely. I think it's Ensign Sul U, by the way, who's on the alternate universe version of Voyager.
I love that. So good. So good.
What about you, Nita? Is that your favorite episode, or do you have a different one out of these 10?
No, I have a different episode that's my favorite, which is Mind Walk, because I absolutely love how Dal and Admiral Janeway switch bodies, and it's
so good.
I thought it was such a funny episode, and even though it wasn't asked, my favorite character of these 10 episodes.
Oh, sorry, I completely forgot you, didn't I?
How do you forget the Queen? I don't know.
I'm so sorry. I'm juggling a lot of balls over here.
I thought you were my brother from another British mother, but clearly this American has been kicked out.
Denied.
Try not to juggle while doing a podcast. There's a
there you go. And you're not going to believe this, but hear me out.
I'm hearing.
The Diviner.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you quickly why. First of all, John Noble, you can't get a better diviner than John Noble. The man is brilliant. He can do anything and make you believe that this is an actual real person he's playing, okay? He is brilliant, okay? And as a diviner, we begin to learn little by little. It's just a tinge of information, because in season 2 is where we're going to get a shitload of information on the diviner, right?
Yep.
But you start to understand where this diviner how his mentality has been formed. Where is it coming from? And you start to see bits and pieces of the diviner that you can actually understand and start to go, whoa, I see where he was coming from, or I understand. And you start to see him in a different light than this mean overlord, which he still is, but no one starts out that way. You become that, right? And I think that it gives you these little bits of information on him. And his character is essential to the Prodigy series. And John Noble was the perfect cast for his voice.
Yeah, John Noble's a great actor as well. Yeah.
Oh my God!
I did like that idea that it was a first contact that had gone wrong and he was mad about it. No, that's fair enough. I love the diviner story in general, especially as you said when we meet the other version of him in season 2, and it all gets very wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Yes, it becomes timey wimey. It's right.
So
yeah, that's fair enough. That's a good. GK, favorite episode out of these 10.
Before I go, there are a couple of points I want to say with regards to Connie and Nita's choice about Mind Walk. When the episode started and, it was a mind swap kind of thing, my first reaction, because we've seen it so many times, is, oh, God, again.
Yes.
But I think it's a testament to the writing on Prodigy that they can take something like that and make it so fresh and entertaining. Mm-hmm. And it's something that they've done throughout the entire series. So, kudos for that.
Sure.
I also want to say a bugbear, because you know me, Mike, I'm a gamer, and I got the game for Prodigy, and I loved it, but it was called Supernova.
Yep.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, my God. Yeah. But anyway, enough about that.
You thought it was going to be the season finale in game form, and it just wasn't.
Well, it wasn't that. It was like set halfway. It was set mid-second half of the season. So I thought, that's all right. It's going to canonically fit. And then they bring out something else with that title. So that kind of thing bugs me as a bit of an obsessive. But yeah, as for favourite episode, it's same as you, World's a Stage.
Yes, thank you. Can't disagree with you on that one. So yeah, my favourite moment is actually, it's a little speech. And again, forgive me as I attempt my amateur dramatics in my best John Pertwee voice. It's Gwendala's speech in Supernova Part 1. I love this moment where she says, in the infinite of space, everyone needs to know there's a place out there willing to accept us all, no matter how different we think we are. Without Starfleet, the Federation crumbles and that dream dies with it. If they've ever helped you as they helped us, then hear my words. Allies, civilians, outsiders, anyone. Starfleet needs you now or it will not survive. It's more the delivery, because I don't think I have quite the gravitas that Ella Purnell does, but it's the kind of found family, and again, this what the Federation means, really being hammered home. I love that moment in the finale, well, in part 1 of it. So that would be my choice. So, Nita, I'm going to come to you next so I don't forget you. What was your favorite moment in these?
What was that? What was your favorite moment and why?
Just favorite moment. It doesn't have to be from your favorite episode. It can be a moment that just speaks to you in any of these 10, really.
Honestly, when the diviner and Gwen kind of meet up again, and she feels that loyalty to someone that she knows really doesn't deserve her loyalty, yet she's having this conflict with her in herself. Yeah. I think that that's something that a lot of us can attest to, especially if you've had complicated relationships with a parent. You can definitely feel that conflict of, well, that's my parent, I need to do XYZ for them. But at the same time, you're going, that's the parent that caused me all this pain. Do I need to be doing this for them? And there's that conflict, right? And I think that they created this conflict with her and him, where it's like she knows that he loves her, but he's bad news. And she doesn't want to be a part of this terror that he's trying to unleash. And I think that that relationship was beautiful and beautifully written. And because it's complicated, and complicated is not always easy to write. But I think they did a wonderful job, and the voice actors did an excellent job in expressing that.
For sure. Yeah, it's kind of tragic what happens in that last episode where kind of she doesn't want to see him die, but he's got this kind of Javert, Captain Ahab like obsession that overrules everything, including his respect and love for his daughter in that version of him.
Exactly.
As I said, it's better when you get the other version in season 2, but that's leaping a little bit ahead. Right, favorite moment, Connie, from these episodes?
So I love how everybody's talking about these great character moments. For me, Supernova Part 2, I am all up for the construct being. I love the fact they actually activated the living construct. It wasn't a case of, yeah, we've Mission Impossible it and stopped it at the last minute. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go for the Protostar versus Starfleet.
Just the various.
There's a great shot where the Defiant slips in behind her, and you're just like, just give me. I'm completely just eating this up. I absolutely love it. So
I had that under the fangasm section. I was like, oh yeah, you think I didn't pause and freeze frame every inch of that? Like, that's that ship.
I am totally up for that. Again, it was probably ticking all my Deep Space Nine badass battle moments. I love it. I love just seeing how nimble, fast, and just fantastic Protostar is, and watching her hold her own against the fleet is pretty damn cool. So yeah, I'm totally going all in on Supernova Part 2 on that battle sequence.
I definitely would second that one, even though I picked a different moment. But yeah, that's great stuff. Great nerdgasm moment. DK, I don't think I've asked you yet. Favorite moment?
I'm also seconding Connie's choice because it was just it got me more kind of on the edge of my seat than many live action track cliffhangers. And I just thought, this is just, oh my goodness, what is going to happen? And it's not often I get like that. And yeah, loved it.
Yeah, and I should say, we haven't mentioned it, but it's sort of an honourable mention for me is holographic Janeway's sacrifice at the very end of all of this.
Yes.
Heartbreaking. Anyway, so in terms of other sort of, as I said, fangasm moments, we haven't mentioned it yet, but the reference to the Voyager episode Counterpoint in Mindwalk, where the guy on the Dauntless trusts Janeway because she was one of the people that protected him in that episode of Voyager.
Great callback. It's fantastic.
It is. I'm so glad you agree, and it didn't just go over everyone's head, because there's times when I'm watching this and I'm like, does anybody else get this, or am I the one person that's just like, you nerd?
That's because you're an extra nerd. The rest of us is just regular nerds.
You're nerd plus.
Yeah.
You're nerd plus.
It just sounds like I've made my own streaming service.
If I'm being picky, the only question would be, how did that person actually get from the Delta Quadrant back to Federation? And yeah, anyway, we won't get into that. Maybe that wormhole.
Yeah, from the very first episode, it's kind of like we just have to accept they can now do that. I mean, there's Kazons,
good old quantum.
But there's like,
but I think that they should have explored that and given us an episode that explained that better, because I think that as fans, we know that it's not possible, and we would accept a wormhole because we accepted, the wormhole in Deep Space Nine. Could have done something. They could have done. That's all I'm saying. I
just figured, he's on a ship with quantum slipstream. They probably all have them at this point.
This is true, yeah. There's a whole bunch of Aventines out there and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And yeah, just as a bit of a nerd, I appreciated the kind of Klingon ships, the Ferengi Marauder making its first appearance in a while in these 10 episodes, and just the whole of All the World's a Stage, all the various TOS references, even the ones that got slightly wrong. But I love it. So yeah, I'm going to go around then and say overall score out of 10 again for these 10 episodes. I'll give you mine first. I went 8.5. I went slightly higher this time. So let's see. DK, what would you give these 10?
I'm going to go 9 on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it took everything that I liked about the first half and just built upon it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I went 8.5, so I did similar. I went a little bit higher than the first half. Nita, what about you?
I want to say 10, but I think that last episode left us thinking there was going to be more, because I think they were anticipating that, and then we didn't get it. So I'm going to go with 8.5.
Okay. And Connie, what about you?
I think I'm probably... So I was thinking about going up to a 10 or 9.5, but I think I'll give it a 9.5.
Cool.
I think that the way they started to in the second half, they wove in Janeway really well. Most of the first half is kind of about the kids, and the interactions mainly Hollow Janeway, sorry. Starting to weave in Janeway and Jellicoe and the wider Trek universe that these kids have probably been isolated from. I thought was really well done. I would say that any series, Star Trek series that destroys its hero ship at the end of the first season, it's a pretty damn gutsy move. And I love that was kind of the reason that then kind of fed into season 2 and that adventure. But yeah, when they did that, it was kind of that's a really gutsy move to just go, yeah, we're just going to blow the ship. Imagine doing, well, end of I don't know, season 1 of TNG. Yeah, we're just going to blow the D. It's just like, wow. So I thought they took some really gutsy swings, and for the most part, they pulled them off. So yeah, I'm going to give it 9.5.
Awesome.
Mainly for the Starship horn.
Absolutely. Actually, I didn't mind them blowing up the protostar because, again, I'm one of the really nerdy people that noticed that the shuttle that they got at the end of that episode had 74656-A on it.
Yes,
so I kind of knew what was coming. Which, again, oops, somebody I think made a bit of a mock up on the art department there. We probably weren't supposed to know about that in advance.
Or they're just teasing us. They're just teasing us,
Exactly. Maybe we were supposed to know.
Maybe. But yeah,
and only nerds. 0.2 would have noticed that.
Only Nerd Plus. But yeah, that gives those 10 episodes then an 8.875 out of 10. These are doing very well. So yeah, just quickly going to rattle through season 2 as quick as we can in 20 minutes. I'll just give you the quick rundown then and see. In season 2 of Prodigy, the crew of the Protostar embarks on a new mission aboard the Voyager A under the command of Vice Admiral Catherine Janeway. The primary objective is to investigate and address the temporal anomalies caused by the Protostar's self-destruction. However, their journey quickly becomes complicated as they encounter the Loom, parasitic entities that feed on dying timelines and don't make t-shirts. That's Fruit of the Loop. Leading to a series of challenges that test their unity and resolve. As the season progresses, the cadets face various trials, including navigating different realities, rescuing Captain Chakotay from a time rift, and confronting the enigmatic Essentia. Their adventures culminate in a confrontation with the Loom, forcing them to make difficult decisions to preserve the timeline and ensure the future of the Federation. Throughout these episodes, themes of identity, sacrifice, and consequences are explored, deepening the character's development and understanding of roles within Starfleet. And again, these episodes are, let's see, Into the Breach Parts 1 and 2, Who Saves the Saviors, Temporal Mechanics 101, Observer's Paradox, Imposter Syndrome, The Fast and the Curious, Is There in Beauty No Truth, and The Devourer of All Things Parts 1 and 2. So, based on these then, and again, I'll go around and ask everyone, favourite character in these 10 episodes, starting with you, Connie. Why not?
I'm going to have to go Zero. I love Zero's journey in this. I love how, starts off with a very nifty new body, so that's always cool. But then gets an even niftier body, and I think, it's a fantastic development of Zero, and I love that burdening relationship with Majel as well. I love that. So yeah, I'm all in on Zero this one because I think it's a really gutsy move they do with the character, giving them a body. Not a Gollum this time, so maybe is it Gollum? I don't know. But no, it's a really, wow, what a way to take the character. No one didn't see that coming, and I was all for it. I think when they get damaged, I was kind of thinking, okay, they're gonna get repaired, but then they just took it in a whole new direction, and I think it was superb. It was, again, this is a flipping kids show. We're getting stuff here on that. We're getting kind of risks here with characters that would have not probably happened in some of the live series, maybe. So yeah, I'm all on Team Zero.
Cool. I also put Zero for these 10 episodes as well, for literally the exact reasons you've already said, so I don't need to go over it again. So that saves time. Is your favorite episode, out of curiosity, Is There in Beauty No Truth? Because it's the Zero
Absolutely.
episode.
Yeah, I think it's just fantastically done. Yeah, and it's with all the there's so much to choose from for these 10 episodes, and I'm loving everything with Wesley Crusher in it, but it stands out because it's so different, and it's a great bonding bit for the crew. It's almost like a breath in amongst everything else that's going on, and I think the kind of it kind of just needs that a little bit just to slow the pace down, do something very, very clever and very smart, and then kick into the second half of the season, as it were. Yeah, I think it's really well done.
Awesome. My favorite moment, by the way, was the Wesley Crusher reveal at the end of these 10 episodes, because it was kind of out of nowhere and I sort of loved it. So, yeah. So did you have a favorite moment? I may as well get that out of the way since we're talking with us.
Favorite moment? I think it has to be just Wesley turning up. I'm wearing that jumper. I mean,
that same jumper.
Wesley, the jumper, and just. Yeah, I mean, I also love the launch of the Voyager race. Pretty cool. Though she seems a bit boring inside. You could do with a bit of color. But no, just Wesley freaking Crusher coming in and just doing everything that. And I think what got me the most was the fact that a lot of what we start seeing is stuff that I'm very much a novel person, having read through the novels and especially like the Coda series and stuff. This is kind of like a Wesley from the Coda stuff doing his thing into like actual Trek canon. And
I was going to bring that up. I'm wondering if the writers have been influenced by Coda, especially with the loom. I know it's not the Viridians, but
it's very similar though, isn't it?
A very similar setup, yeah.
I'll come to you next, Nita, because I know we kind of have to get you out of here, so we'll try and get your thoughts as quick as we can on these ones. So, a favorite character out of these 10, first of all?
I gotta stick with Gwen. I think that in these first 10 episodes, she really starts to grow and develop into her own person, for sure.
Okay.
And I do like that about her.
That's cool. That's good. Favorite episode out of them?
Fast and the Curious, because they go through the Borg conduit and they face the Kazon, which they need to bring Kazons back into the Star Trek universe. I mean,
do they?
Yeah, they really do. They're out of control and they're ridiculous.
I don't want to see any more Timu Klingons.
Yeah,
Timu
Klingon. Who doesn't love a Timu Klingon? Them facing the Klingon, getting their ass kicked by Klingons. I wouldn't mind watching that.
Fair enough. I have to say that's not one of my favorite episodes, but to each their own. And do you have a favorite moment out of these 10?
Out of 10 episodes, I really like when you see Gwen really kind of getting to the point where she's starting to understand her own origin and her own history, and just sort of discovering, especially in that episode 9, the Devourer of all things, the first part, she starts to really understand what her planet has been through. And I think that that's really great character development for her.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't disagree. And do you have an overall score, Nita, for these 10 episodes since we're rushing through?
I would say 8.
Okay. Fair enough. So, yeah, we'll let you go so that we first of all ask you about the last 10 before we ask everyone else, because I know you want to get out of here. So do you have a favorite character out of the last 10 episodes?
Well, yes. First of all, I absolutely love that they're bringing in more of the diviner. So I kind of want to stick to the diviner on favorite character.
You can pick him twice.
Yeah, I'm picking him twice. And favorite episode, it will always be the Triple Core Quest. I mean, you've got Klingons, which are my favorites. You've got Tribbles, genetically enhanced vitamin Tribbles, which are completely opposite than the ones you see in TOS and in Deep Space Nine. And I actually like the Tribbles. So yeah, that will be my favorite episode.
Who doesn't love Tribbles? That's fair enough. And a favorite moment then out of these last 10?
I think that my favorite moment was Touch of Grey, when Admiral Janeway and you see Admiral J-Man and Chakotay together, and before he's off on his mission, and you see that relationship develop. That should have developed throughout Voyager, not that other one that grosses everyone out. And I like that moment, that mature, intimate moment that they're having.
Okay, cool. And do you have a score for the last 10 episodes then that you want to give us out of 10?
Yes. I will give it, I'm going to generously give it a 9, only because had it not been for the fact that they didn't give us a season 3, I probably would say 10 because they were really fantastic. But they left us hanging, I think, and left a lot of unanswered questions, thinking they were going to have that season 3 to answer it, and then they didn't.
That's fair
You
enough.
know, at least a movie, for crying out loud.
Well,
Yes,
we
please.
live in hope, I suppose. At the very least, maybe a comic book continuation or something. But we'll
Yes,
see.
something. We need
Yeah.
something.
That's fair enough. Cool. Well, you can go if you want. Then, if you're in a hurry to get somewhere, I think you are. So you're more than welcome to leave, or you can stick around if you want to for 5 minutes.
I have 10 minutes I can give you guys.
Cool.
I'm
Well,
sorry. It's just
no,
I
it's
gotta
fine,
go
that's
to
good.
my boxing class. So
Oh,
That's all good. So, DK, I'm going to ask you the same 3 questions. Favorite character, episode, and moment for the first 10 episodes.
Episode, is there in Beating of Truth? You guys have already touched upon it. I think it's a beautiful little episode, and it's nice to see Zero get some character development. Character, I'm going to go with Margel.
oh, that's
Okay,
a great
because
choice.
Again, like I mentioned earlier, when the writing on Prodigy is really good. So when they introduced her, and she was kind of like this antagonist almost, and it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, and she ended up becoming almost another member of the Prodigy team, and I just love that. I think she's a really great character.
Okay.
And as for moment, it's another one for Wesley at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That makes sense. And do you have a score out of 10 you wanted to give us?
I do. I know we disagree on this, mate, but I really enjoyed this season. As I said, whether it was just low expectations from you going, "Oh, this is not good," but
I didn't say it was terrible. I said it wasn't.
no,
as good
you didn't
as
say it was
season-
terrible. You just said it's not good. So I'm going to go 9.5 on this.
Wow, that has shocked me a little. Okay, fair enough. Cool. And because I didn't ask you this, Connie, did you give a score out of what would you give? Sorry, for a score out of 10 for these episodes?
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to give it 9.5 because
Wow.
it just there was a slight reset. I think and obviously I think because it had been away for so long and we'd had so much uncertainty, there was a little bit of I did a season 1 rewatch before season 2 came out, so there was a little bit of catching back to where we'd left everybody. So I think that first episode, is it Into the Breach or something where they're going back out is
Yes.
it kind of has to reframe the series, not reframe it completely, but it's almost like last time on Prodigy, almost. But I mean, who saw Wesley coming? That was just awesome.
Exactly, yeah.
Loving the Voyager A. And really, again, just trying to remember that this is a kid show that is getting very timey-wimey, and it is not pulling any punches when it comes to just being a smart series of Star Trek. 9.5. Love it.
Awesome. Cool. Right, DK, I think you have the brief synopsis of the final 10 episodes of the season. Oh, before you do that, sorry, I forgot the Fangasm alert stuff. From the first 10 episodes, I think it's kind of self-explanatory, but, Wesley Crusher is probably the big one. And we've already mentioned Borg Transwarp Conduits, the Kazon making a reappearance, the Voyager A, and, the return of the holographic Doctor, I think, was a big thing. But unless there's something I'm forgetting, obviously, there's a lot of things that tie into the show, like Chakotay and stuff, but it seems almost churlish to mention. So,
I'm going to say Cetacean Ops and a whale called Gillian. Thank you very much.
Yes, the whale called Gillian, based on Dr. Taylor. And I mean, I know every Trekkie is going to know this, but I have to mention that yes, the character Margel is named for Majel Barrett Roddenberry, the first lady of Star Trek. So that's obviously where that Vulcan name comes from. And cool. So, DK, do you want to take us away with the last 10 episodes synopsis?
In the final 10 episodes of Prodigy Season 2, the crew embarks on a perilous mission to restore the timeline and confront the Loom, a destructive interdimensional force threatening the Prime Universe. The journey begins with the last flight of the Protostar, Parts 1 and 2, where the team reunites with Captain Chakotay on the planet Isida. There they discover the remains of Chakotay's first officer, Adrik Hu, and utilize a charged antimatter canister to power the Protostar's escape. Their efforts culminate in a daring sea voyage and a harrowing battle across the Loom's against the Loom's forces. I'm sorry, I'll put my teeth in. Subsequent episodes delve into the team's challenges and growth. A Tribble called Quest foregrounds rock tax science and nature loving as the crew encounters aggressive Tribbles and the Klingon who created them. Cracked Mirror sees the crew's attempt to return home bounce them between different realities, including the Mirror universe. In Ascension, Parts 1 and 2. Zero undergoes a transformation, gaining a new body with enhanced sensory inputs, symbolizing their journey towards self-discovery. Brink sees the crew navigating complex moral dilemmas and the consequences of their actions. Touch of Grey introduces new alliances and strategies as the team faces escalating threats. And the season concludes with Ouroboros Parts 1 and 2, where the crew, with assistance from the Voyager A and Wesley Crusher, successfully navigate the Loom's domain, restoring the timeline. The finale hints at future challenges and adventures, leaving the crew poised for new beginnings, which we will never see.
Sadly, unfortunately, yeah. Oh, dear me. So, fair enough. That kind of covers everything there, including the episode titles. So, again, we've got your thoughts and opinions on file, Nita. So, favorite character, episode, and moment, DK, if you don't mind.
Favorite character? I'm going to go with Wesley. It was nice to see him, and it was great to see his role expanded on. As opposed to the brief blink and you'll miss it cameo at the end of Picard season 2.
Yeah, which I still liked, by the way. It's one of the 2 things I actually enjoy about that season 2 finale.
What were the other things? The favorite
episode and moment. Yeah,
I'm going to go with Ouroboros for the episode because again, it's one of those finales where it really catches me off guard. This show because I do think the writing is just so well that it actually does make me think that not everybody's going to come out of this.
True.
As I mentioned earlier, I think it's any appearance by the Loom for the moment because they terrify the hell out of me. And
I hate them so
much. In a way that not many Trek kind of, antagonists do. And it reminded me, as we were saying to Connie earlier, it reminded me very much of Coda. And it was kind of like Coda, but not as heartbreaking and brutal. So I'm gonna go with that.
I haven't read Coda, and I probably should. But
prepare
it reminded
yourself.
It reminded me way too much of the Reapers from Doctor Who, and they just came out of nowhere, and we've never seen them before in Trek, and they just seemed like a kid show concept. And I was like, oh, I hate this. Sorry.
And they do look like they do look like the ones from the Matrix as well, don't they? Remember the first time you saw
the Sentinels.
Oh,
the
yeah, the
Sentinels in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Yes,
very Sentinel-like.
Yeah. Although I do think it was shocking that, like, the way they kill you is basically to stop you from having ever existed. That really was bone chilling because, geez, man, that's not just death. That's you've never existed. Yeesh. So. Yeah, fair enough. So, Connie, sorry again about that. Favorite character.
Fangasm? Are we doing fangasms on this?
I will at the end, yeah.
Oh, all right.
I ask the questions first, and I'll get into the fangasm moments from this last 10 episodes. There's a lot, believe me. One of them is in my profile picture. Yes, I'm as nerdy about uniforms as I am about ships at times, but anyway. So anyway, Connie, favorite character episode?
Favorite character, yeah. I'm going to go for Wesley because I loved how frenetic he was. I loved all the oblique references. He's thrown out references to the Kelvin verse and stuff like that. It's just fantastic. I also loved the interactions with his mum and actually the implication that he met Jack as well. It's just, I think the timing was so good in terms of starting to connect to Picard and that. So yeah, Wesley was just, I think Will Wheaton did this great balance of him being super smart but slightly unhinged and overwhelmed many times, and it was just really well done. And tying it back to as well some of the original series like Assignment Earth with The Office and that, I just thought that was really, really well done. So I'm definitely on board. Team Wesley, we absolutely gave him the kind of send off that I don't think he ever truly got in TNG, and it kind of lived up to the potential that was always hinted at even from the beginning of that series.
Yes,
so it was great to see that come full circle. Absolutely.
Definitely. Cool. And well, Nita, I can see that you're wanting to head off now, so we'll stick around for however long it takes to finish. That's hopefully not long.
No problem, guys. It was great meeting you all. I just have to go.
Yeah, it's great to see you again, Nita.
Yeah, before you go, did you want to announce the next Sci-Fi Queens episode? You may as well.
Yes. It will be on June 6th. at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to start our month-long celebration of Pride Month here in the United States. It's in June, and we're going to be talking about the LGBTQIA plus contribution to sci-fi TV, movies, books, and real scientists that are among the LGBTQIA community. So June 6th, don't miss it.
Look forward to that, and I can see that you've started.
That sounds amazing.
I see you've started stalking Connie.
I am. I'm stalking her.
Yeah, good luck with my feed. It's a very very nerdy at times.
It's a nerd.
That's okay.
It's nerdvana. I love it.
That's okay.
Anyway.
All right, guys.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks for having me.
Enjoy boxing.
Have a good one,
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Nice to meet you.
Anyway, so that was. Where were we up to then? In that case,
Favorite episode
was Wesley.
for me. Favorite episode. I'm going to go Cracked Mirror. I'm sorry, but that was just hilarious. Murph with his goatee. Even the whales are evil. Captain Tuvix. I think that had the Enterpriseians in it. I love Shattered. I think it's a fantastic Voyager episode. So I was all in. Oh, and we also got Okuda, the outrageous Okana back as well. Because and it's, I think this is like something that's so good about Prodigy, the fact that we almost forgot the Doctor was back, or you had Okana back. It's so rich and so packed with something. But yeah, even the whales are evil, and she had the scar on the whale. I was just all, and also as a Star Trek Online fan, wishing that we've got more of the sort of like Mirror Universe Voyager, because they did the one shot in the comics. I was all up for seeing like Janeway looking completely badass with Borg implants and everything. It was just a fantastic fun diversion and a great episode. So I loved it.
Favorite moment then in these 10 episodes?
I have to say that I think the end of Ouroboros, if I can say that right, tying it into Picard, and I did notice your uniform photo. Tying it into Picard, I think, was a really, really good move. I mean, they could have just left it as, we're back and let's go boldly and all that, and you're now in, but to take the moment to do that, and I loved how it kind of, why is there not enough, there's not even enough comm badges to go around and things like that, I thought was fantastic. and it's very frustrating that it left it on that, what we've seen from Picard, and we've seen that where Starfleet maybe started to become more insular, that here is the USS Prodigy, yoo-hoo, we finally get the ship name, and then it gets cancelled. So god damn you, Paramount, you, and Netflix, you buggers. But I just thought that was a really, really great moment where, it was First Contact Day. They're obviously tucking into their First Contact Day salmon, and it all goes sideways, and Picard, and we linked into that. Absolutely. And again, it's a kids show, an animated kids show that has just woven itself into the wider mythology and shown us an aspect that now relates to Picard that we didn't see. So genius move, absolute genius. So
absolutely, I will second that, and I'll add that it's not even just the finale. I love that they're seeding what's going on that kind of feeds into the Picard storyline throughout, so that when they have to cross into the Romulan neutral zone, there's kind of a reference to like, well, things are a bit, they kind of have other concerns right now. So but then Jellicoe's like, things are a bit iffy right now. And then even when they're like, oh, we found Chakotay, can you spare us any ships or whatever? And he's like, no, we're basically evacuating Romulus with our entire fleet right now. So, we're a bit busy. And as you said, at the very end of the last episode, where you find out you're basically coinciding with the Children of Mars short trek and the flashbacks in Picard, not just because you see the same uniforms. And I mean, even Jellicoe says, doesn't he? Yes, Captain Picard was not happy. That's putting it mildly.
Again, acknowledging that they got Captain Jellicoe or Admiral Jellicoe throughout the series. Again, it's just like, how do you go and get Ronnie Cox in to do Prodigy? I mean, it's just incredible. What was that pitch, by the way? We're doing an animated series. Remember that one that Captain no one liked, or Riker didn't like. Fancy coming back as an admiral and being a right pain in the ass to Janeway. I mean, wow, and that's why I love Prodigy, because it just is a great story about these kids. But there is so much fantastic extra Trek going on. You just get a bit of everything, really, don't you? So
completely, yeah. You've touched on a few of the kind of fangasm things, but yeah, I have to give my favorite stuff now. My favorite character is going to be potentially controversial, and again, it's character, not actor. My favorite character in these last 10 is Chakotay. I really think I've said this kind of off air to DK. I think he's better in these episodes than the entirety of Voyager, and particularly Last Flight of the Protostar 1 and 2. The kind of story of how he was lost for so long and how he'd lost hope, and then they kind of makeshift the Protostar into kind of a weird sailing ship type situation, and finally from the planet they were on. I think it's fantastic. And again, yeah, I was actually genuinely interested in following the character of Chakotay and what he did for the first time ever. So that was I have to give him his props for that one. My favorite episode is, like you, Connie, it's Cracked Mirror, just because, again, nerdy references, and you know, it's basically a companion piece to Shattered, the Voyager episode. It's got Mirror Universe and everything else. So what's not to love? Although, again, I think Last Flight of the Protostar would come a close second. My favorite moment is just, again, the stuff you mentioned about the end of the finale, the way that it ties into Picard and sets all that up and sets the Prodigy crew up for new adventures that sadly won't friggin' happen. So yeah, I would say just the way it all concludes, I think it did kind of stick the landing, thankfully, even though I didn't love most of these 10 episodes. So yeah. So speaking of which, as I said, I'll briefly mention the Fangasm alert things in the last 10 episodes that we haven't touched on. We've already said, like I said, they do get the card uniforms, the era the ones that we saw in the flashbacks to 2385, since we've now hit that year. And I didn't think they were going to do it, and love that they did. They even, as you said, went to the trouble of explaining that they've reverted to the old comm badges because they don't have enough resources to upgrade them to the ones that they were already using, the newer ones, which again, sly little reference, but I liked it. And again, Jellicoe, O'Connor, the Mirror Universe stuff, the whales again. I think we've mentioned most of all of the kind of cool stuff. Starfleet Academy. Dr. Erin McDonald was a nice little reference throughout these episodes as well. So yeah, I think that's all I can think of off the top of my head at the minute as I rush to the end. So again, if you have anything else, leave them in the comments or go hit us up online. We're always happy to have nerd references to nerd out over.
Makes me want to go and watch it right now, to be fair.
Yeah, you're winning me over because I didn't particularly love these last 10 episodes. Like I said, I didn't love the Loom story, and I didn't love how kind of weird and time travel-y it all got, because it baked my brain too much to try and understand, and I'm sure some of it doesn't make sense, put it that way. And yeah, but there's lots that I did still enjoy, I have to say. But controversially, I will say my overall score out of 10 for these 10 episodes is a 6, just because I expected so much more, and I was still waiting for a big 10 out of 10 like Time and Mock or Kobayashi or All the World's a Stage in season 1. I don't think we really got it until maybe the finale. So yeah, I'm going to go with a 6 out of 10. Connie, what would you go with out of 10 for these 10
I'm going to go for
Don't let
10.
me sway you, by the way.
No, I'm going to go for a 10. And I think when you look at like the first few, I'm probably seeing it from a lens of the whole series. When I think about, do you know what it kind of reminds me of? It reminds me when DS9 went like fully serialized towards its end, that as we got closer and closer to the end point, we were getting more serialized. I know we got like Cracked Mirror and the other one in, but yeah, I liked that there was still a big bad. It was still, I'm all up for temporal weapons and stuff like that. And yeah, I just think that the way they kind of brought together threads that were probably laid right in the beginning of season 1, that whole, and for me, I think when Dal left when he left the badge on the bridge of the Protostar ready for him to find right back at season, it just created this gorgeous loop, and I think they just did a fantastic job of just linking everything together. So, and then just leaving us wanting more, which is the big shame that we're not going to get it. So yeah, I'm going to go for a full 10 because I thought they nailed it. I think they really did.
That's cool. Awesome. And DK, what about you?
I like you. I did miss the kind of singular standout episodes, such as World's a Stage, that kind of thing. But unlike you, I absolutely adored this last arc. And it gave me everything kind of that I wanted. And as Connie mentioned, it kind of took it back to the beginning, wrapped everything up quite nicely, and just left you wanting more. So yeah, it's going to be a 10 from me as well.
Wow. Okay. Again, that was very unexpected, but okay. I was waiting on even 9-ish maybe. But okay. So then the average for these 10 episodes comes to 8.75. So yeah. Safe to say, all
Which
really good.
Yeah, which basically
Yes.
averages out as Paramount, you bunch of idiots.
You
Yeah, exactly.
absolute. Yeah. Jesus.
Paramount, you hate money or something. What's going on with you? We'll do as we always do. Then I always put out a sort of prompt on social media to ask what you think, and in this case, it was to say, what did you think of Star Trek Prodigy overall?
Incoming transmission.
And again, I think we're going to basically come down on the side of Paramount, you idiots, because I can't really, having a scroll through, I can't see anything particularly negative. But again, I promised I would read out what people had sent us. So again, what did you think generally of Star Trek Prodigy? I asked. And from Blue Sky, David M says, a good season 1 followed by an all-time great season 2. Clearly, I'm in the wrong here. Had the best of the linear storytelling from Discovery and the timeline with a ton of lovable characters, new and old. I'm sick and tired of having to campaign for Star Trek to stay on the air. Fantastic show, animated or otherwise. Yeah. From the Hit or Miss Who Trek Instagram page, Angeli's Trekkie says, I preferred season 2. Again, I think it was much better. I really liked when the cadets told their stories. It was a very nice episode. Twin Cities Trekkie says, at first very hesitant, but as I got into it, this show should have really been the show that fans talk about for decades to come, just like TOS and Next Gen are. Kevin Russell just said, season 2 has never been seen on any platform in Canada by anyone. Biggest media market other than California. Again, Paramount, what are you doing? I have to say, I can't believe people in Canada literally have no way to watch these episodes legally. I mean, come on. It's just stupid. So yeah, over on Facebook, then I asked in various Facebook groups, starting with Star Trek VIP Nerd Lounge. Andre Grindle said, I haven't seen the second season, but did see the first. Enjoyed the bits with Janeway, but the villain was extremely tacked on. Didn't need to be there to motivate the story. I'm going to disagree with that. But as with Discovery and Picard, the season-long story arc really dragged it down. This younger set almost seemed to demand that for some reason, but Star Trek has always functioned better on TV as an episodic show. That's why I prefer Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. Fair enough. Lee Johnson from Star Trek Fans UK and Ireland, this is now, says, I really enjoyed all the seasons, although the first was the better of the shows. It was far better than I expected it to be. Simon Tracy says, if they don't do Firestarter, I think they'll be missing a trick. Yeah, I see what you did there. Yeah, Prodigy. Okay.
They can't do the other one. It's even worse.
Smack by Janeway up is not something we want to be hearing.
No.
From Northeast Retro Den, Insectio Lads Tips and Tricks says, Prodigy was fantastic. Temporal Mechanics 101 was great. And Preludes and Mind Swap all great. Star Trek Family Now, Super Ron says, I'm so upset about this. It was such a great show. Wesley Hudson says, my wife, 2 boys, and I are sad. What a great show this was. Me, personally, my favorite episode was season 1's cliffhanger. Cole Olson says, I don't care what anyone says. Prodigy is great Trek, period. Super on, I've already said, so upset about this. Let's see. Back to Instagram. Christopher Tiberius Picard, what a name, commented, it was such a delight, to be honest. It took the first couple of episodes to pull together their stories. Just so much fun. Season 2 was a hit as well, like expanded Trek in the best way, especially Voyager. And now back to Facebook groups briefly. Star Trek Wholesome posting, Helen Edgar says, I think I liked season 2 better for the Wesley cameos, if nothing else. But my favorite single episode was Timer Mock. Yay. That just felt like old school Star Trek to me. And that haunting exchange at the end. How long was she alone? Too long. Got to agree with that. Joe Mantid says, almost your entire post could be mine, to Helen Edgar, except that I think season 1 may have been my overall favorite. I dearly love both though, and I think Timer Mock may be my favorite episode as well. I love all the characters, but if I have to pick a favorite, it's likely Rocktack, and I think the series as a whole may be the most consistently good in the Star Trek franchise. Lauren Sherman says, I loved both seasons, but season 2 knocked it out of the park. I adore this show. Mike Shackle says, I honestly can't really separate season 1 and 2 since these 40 episodes are so tightly interwoven. You really need to watch all of them to get the complete story. I do believe Prodigy is the best of the Kurtzman era of Trek. I think it best embodies Gene's original vision, better than the other Kurtzman series. The positivity, the idea of being better together than apart, and just the hope that comes with a better idea for the future exist more in Prodigy than other recent entries. And I think that's it. It seems to be the last one we have. So yeah, everything else I believe is aliens feedback for a different day. So yeah, as I said, safe to say, Paramount, you had a hit on your hands. I do not know what you were thinking, deciding to erase this from existence like a bad loom. So anyway,
it's Paramount though, mate. The ship has landed.
Yeah.
You said it.
When you're doing that and you're not producing Murph. I mean, you look at, oh, here's Baby Yoda and there's all the merchandise. Here's Murph and you get nothing. We get NFTs and Starship, and they can't even print T-shirts with the right captain in front of the right spaceship. So what are you gonna do?
Well, that's going to serve as my little brief conclusion. Just basically, Paramount, F you, just in general.
Absolutely, 100%.
And that'll wrap up our journey through Star Trek Prodigy, a show that dared to go where no kids' cartoon had gone before and gave us a found family worth rooting for. I think we've established holograms worth crying over and a Janeway worth saluting twice. Huge thanks to my co-host and First Officer DK for bringing his signature blend of insight, sass, and Starfleet level precision to the helm once again. Thank you, buddy.
Always a pleasure, dude. Thanks for having me.
And awesome, no problem. And of course, thanks to our stellar guests, Nita, who's left us now, whose wisdom hit harder than a torpedo barrage, and Connie. It's been fantastic. Takes always warp factor fabulous. So it's been great meeting up.
It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate the invite. Thank you so much. I'm always
anytime. Well, if you ever fancy coming back, we do need some guests for the upcoming Cardassian season, and you may be on with Vian if you're up for that. So.
Oh God, yeah, she's gonna absolutely love that. Yes,
she basically made me do it.
I'm sure there was no cajoling into that. Absolutely,
I was there to see the cajoling. It was quite interesting.
How do you break an arm across an entire continent? It's amazing. Anyway. Yeah, looking forward to that one. So, before we warp out of here, I did want to give you a chance to plug your comms, Connie. Is there anywhere that you want our listeners to find you, follow you, or just shower you in transporter glitter? Apparently.
So I'm always up for glitter. So I am on Blue Sky. I'm just currently trying to remember what my account is. So yes, I'm Connie H72 on Blue Sky, where I'm normally posting nerdy stuff. I like to make memes and art and stuff like that. And I do also have an Instagram account, which I'm currently just talking slowly so I can remember what my post. And I'm Connie H1701 on Insta, where you'll find a mixture of anything from what color my nails are to what starships I'm buying to what art I'm making. So yeah, it's an interesting mix of things that I like to throw together. So
And you and your missus doing a lot of really good cosplay that I tend to see on there as well. So.
Oh, we love a cosplay, and yeah, as I say, we're in full blown moving house mode at the moment, and we're trying to figure out where to put the sheer wealth of Star Trek art. We have we got an Enterprise E/Phoenix art signed by John Eves himself at STLV last year. Nice. And we're just kind of thinking, where the hell are we going to put all this stuff?
Good problem to have.
I've just followed you on Blue Sky, Connie.
As for us, all our star charts, socials, and bonus content are in the link tree that you'll find in the episode description. So if you enjoyed this debrief, make sure to like, subscribe, share us with your crew, and leave a review if you're feeling generous. Even a few kind words in Federation standard help us reach more listeners across the quadrant. And we'll be back very soon with another full series Trek review, as I said. And Lady Vian, if you're listening, your moment has arrived. Yes, our next series is dedicated to the tangled politics, rich lore, and dramatic cheekbones of the Cardassians. And yes, the Bajorans as well. Expect espionage, expect conflict, expect a lot of passionate shouting in caves. And looking forward to that one. Until then, this is Captain Mike signing off. But remember, together, our potential is infinite. Now, go boldly.
You have been listening to the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast, part of the Hit or Miss Who Trek channel. Hit or Miss Star Trek is hosted by Mike Wilson and DK. Behind the scenes and additional material by DK. Scripted, produced, and edited by Mike Wilson, based on an idea by Mike Wilson and Will Templar. Follow us on YouTube, your podcatcher of choice, and our social media. Links to all of these can be found by clicking on the link tree in the episode descriptions. This podcast is a Media Matters original production. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast throughout subspace. We'll be back for another thrilling trek through the stars soon, but for now, hailing frequencies closed.
Try to warp out of here at once, maximum speed.